Monday, March 21st, 2022. Is it your birthday? Nobody cares. It's the NHL trade deadline day, and we are here to prepare for the Habs trade deadline. Join alongside me is Justin. My name is Mackie, and we are missing Alex. Together, we make the No Respect podcast. If you like Habs content, you have come to the right place, ladies and gentlemen. But today, the video. We go through a list, Justin, right? Just a nice little list of the Habs roster, maybe a little blast of the past. We'll see in our list. What do we have for today at the folks back at home as we do this recording?
So I put together a little tier list to go through all the Habs roster. So you're going to see some familiar faces, maybe some faces that you haven't seen in a while. And so we have different tiers of untouchable, could be useful in a retool / rebuild. The return on investment is not worth it, at least at this time.
Good old ROI. I like the parenthesis in that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tradable assets. And, of course, pack yo shit, because they're on their way out and we know it.
Yeah, 100%. And again, we're doing a little bit of our own No Respect version of what we assume is going to be Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes's rather not trade, likely trade. So this is our version, and we're going to fight to the death to see where we place these players. And again, for those of you who do not agree with us, please go ahead and roast us. The whole point of this video is discussion. And again, it's speculation. We'll see what happens at the deadline. We don't know what the offers are. But let's start off here, Justin. You want to give us the cue in here? Who's our first player? Who's our first contestant?
Yeah, well, in absolutely no sane order at all, we have Chris Weidman, KHL Defenseman of the Year of 2021. And yeah, I mean, to me at least, I guess I'll start it off. He's a young player. I think he could be useful to keep. I think he's shown some promise this year. I don't think he's not been incredible, but I think he's a good offensive type defenseman, and I think he could be useful.
I completely disagree. And I think his play lately has shown that he might be just struggling to get into a Habs roster spot. I would say the ROI not worth it, but if you can trade him, go ahead. But it's definitely the ROI one, dude.
But I think he's a good depth piece. Like I would agree with you that trading him right now, you might not be worth it. You might not get much for him, but I mean,
you still do it, right?
I'll say we'll keep him ROI. I'll say we'll keep him.
All right.
Because I mean, we're still keeping him, so it's fine.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay. So one down to Chris Weidman. No disrespect to you. Let's go to Joe Drouin is next up on the list. Okay. This one is tough because I love Joe. I know that he hasn't had the greatest parkour in terms of consistency with the Montreal Canadiens, but let's examine this from Kent Hughes' bald head. Okay. I'm putting him as a tradable asset. Personally. Now, where do you place him, though? I don't want to go and jump the gun. I just say that I think that Jonathan Drouin, as much as I think that he has great talent, I think if you can get something for him at this time and heading into the draft, I consider him not an untouchable. He could be a useful, piece in the retool rebuild, I guess. But maybe you just try to maximize his value. I don't know. What do you think?
For me, I think at this point in the season, the ROI isn't there for Jonathan Drouin. But I want to wait until I see him being coached under Martin St. Louis, because I think that if anyone can unlock the potential of Jonathan Drouin, it is our boy Marty. So I think we should wait, keep him. I was trending to keep him because he's going to be useful in a retool / rebuild. But if you want to go to tradable asset, I do agree that he could be a tradable asset, but at this point, I don't think he has much value because he hasn't played a lot of games this season. So what do you think?
All right, let's keep him there, okay? He's still a valuable asset. I would have liked to see him healthy, so let's move on to our boy. Is that Laurent Dauphin?
Oh, yeah.
All right, okay.
Promising
let's put that
young
in the
fellow.
Let's put it in the ROI, no? Let's put it in the ROI.
I think ROI.
Yeah. No disrespect to you. He's doing great, and there's a second line role. Yeah.
No, I mean he's exceeded expectations so far, but he's basically an AHL fringe player. So I mean,
Yeah. There you
Andrew
have it. There you
Hammond.
have it.
I think Andrew Hammond's going to be in the same boat, kind of. He's
Agreed. Shove him right in there. I love the Hamburglar. Love what he did against Ottawa. Played a hell of a game, but he's not going to fetch anything much here. So, all right, this is a big one. Larry Price, Corey Price, Carey Price. Obviously, this season it's difficult to say anything because there's obviously the injury that he sustained, and now he's in recovery. We don't know if he's going to be coming back this season. But in your mind, what are you doing with Carey Price in an ideal world?
I mean, we have to put him in ROI not worth it, just because, first of all, the injury situation, the contract situation, nobody's in their right mind's going to take a $10.5 million contract right now on a question mark right now. But yeah, what do you think?
I was about to say that's probably the reason why I would put him in the category of could be useful in a retool and rebuild.
I would agree because
can we swap him?
Let's swap him. Let's do it because I was gonna say too, because if you're already on like a very low cap team, then who cares? Like you're paying your $10.5 million goalie. That was tough to say.
No, it is.
And I mean, could be useful in a retool / rebuild. Maybe we're just rebuilding the team from last year. Maybe that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, maybe. No, but just to finish off on Carey Price, I was just going to say that, like, it's impossible to say it right now. And if there is some value, obviously you're going to look to maybe move this type of piece. It's just that for now, with the information that we have, which is not much, I would keep him, and hopefully he could be a type of leader. And we'll go into maybe some other characters that fall under that category. So let's go ahead with Matsurpero, who just came back into the lineup not too long ago. You were putting him in the tradable asset category at the deadline. I tend to completely agree. If you can get anything from Matsurpero as a depth player, he's on a 1-year deal. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't put him in this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he isn't on 1-year deal. Okay, I was wondering about that. But yeah, that even makes it more clear. Like tradable asset, he's probably could potentially get us a 3rd round pick. Maybe we'll see.
That's
maybe not.
That's a bit much, we'll see. We'll see. All right, moving on. Samuel Montembeault.
Yeah, I mean.
Listen, for me, with Jake Allen and Carey Price, I put him in the ROI category, personally. I don't know if he's a tradable asset. Maybe the Leafs right now, with the way that their goaltending situation is going on, maybe they want a 3rd guy. But Samuel Montembeault, as much as I think he's shown promise in the past, he doesn't have the consistency to be 1A, 1B goalie, and he's not necessarily a backup goalie either. So I don't know. Personally, I would put him in this particular category. Obviously, if you can get some asset, I just don't think it's going to be possible with Samuel Montembeault.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd ask you, like, do you think he is going to be a backup next year? Like, was that something that you would see him doing, or not?
Again, depends on Carey Price and Jake Allen's situation, So maybe we're gonna get into those guys too, because maybe personally we trade. We'll get into Jake Allen after. How about that? Cale Clegg, ROI man. This I don't see anything going on here. And in terms of could be useful in a retool rebuild, he hasn't shown anything from being picked up on waivers and getting the opportunity on the Habs. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I would. Yeah, I totally agree. There's no real ROI. I mean, we picked him off waivers. He's a waiver wire type player right now in his career. So, yeah. We move on to Corey Shinneman. I think it's going to be similar. It could be. Honestly, he's shown a lot. I would put him between this, because he has shown that he can be an NHL defenseman.
I would put him definitely could be useful. I think he definitely could be useful for now. He
is surprised.
He's shown a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Very solid defenseman in terms of his style of play. Nothing flashy, but is playing good hockey and just solid enough to not be a nuisance, but good enough to have a positive impact in zone exits and stuff like that. So for that reason, I would also, moving along with the next couple of players here, Rem Pitlick, definitely think since his waiver wire pickup could be useful for the retool. I don't think there's much of an argument there.
Yeah.
Same thing for Ryan Poehling, right? I don't see it being any different.
I mean, the only thing I would say is if there was. Actually, no, I don't think the return would be there. I would just say that if there was a prospect or a young player that I'd trade, it maybe be Ryan Poehling, if we could get a good enough return for him. But I would say you're right. Like, he could be useful in a retool/rebuild.
Yeah, of course. All right, let's go with Michael Possetta. I think I put him in ROI, to be honest. What do you think?
Yeah, I was gonna go like very homer and say maybe a team will take a flyer to like make him go in the playoffs, and because at the end of the day, he is like a playoff type player. Like, that's the kind of player you'd want on a team. But yeah, I don't think there's gonna be any return. Like, I don't think anyone has him on their radar really, other than Habs fans. So I agree. ROI,
exactly.
not.
It's been a great story.
Yeah,
been a great story.
Great lettuce.
Been a great story.
Great lettuce.
Yeah, fantastic lettuce. Jake Evans. Okay, Jake Evans, you're putting him in the category could be useful in a retool rebuild. I tend to agree. Where I think I would disagree, though, is that his contract is not that bad. If you don't see him being a vital part of the future, I would put him in tradable asset. Because I think some teams will take him on a flyer. Maybe not now, so I agree with where you're putting him. But I think that there is a little bit of a debate here that Jake Evans could bring you something that might be of use, more so than his actual performance needed for the team as we speak. I see you shaking your head. Why?
I mean, I disagree just because I feel like anything we get for him would not be as good as Jake Evans is. Like, I don't think we're going to get over like a second round pick or something for him. So I think Jake Evans is a very serviceable player that is on a good contract, like you said, and could be good in a retool. He's young too. He's 25 years old. So, I mean, like, to me, he's in the perfect place right now.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it there with you. I'm not gonna die on the hill. Okay, but all I'm saying is that if he's one for one, like, I would package him. If I could package him in a deal that gets you more, that's why I put him in the tradable asset category. But let's keep him there because I like Jake. He's good friends with Tyler. They're going for dinner before the Calgary Flames game. It was his rookie dinner party. Let's keep him, okay? Going on to Alexander Romanov, who we saw in the woods, if you guys know. You're putting him in the untouchable category. Okay, interesting. All right, give me your explanation as to why Alexander Romanov is untouchable.
I think he's first of all our youngest defenseman, and he's probably been one of our most consistent, most solid. He's not gonna score 40 points in a season, but I think he's fifth in hits this year. Like, I think this is the type of defenseman you can build a kind of like very tough core of defensemen around. So I mean, to me, he's untouchable because he's like the perfect player to have right now when we're wanting to have a young team, we're wanting to rebuild. Like, to me, he's untouchable.
Okay, I love
maybe
Romanov.
Untouchable is a bit much. Maybe that's a bit much. I agree it's maybe a bit much, but I do think he's a player that should be on this team for a long time.
Okay, I agree with that. The homer in me says that I want him to be untouchable. However, if I'm taking a more logical, pragmatic approach, I would put him in the could be useful in retool rebuild category. But if you guys disagree, if you want to trade him right away, pack your shit, Romanov. You guys let us know in the comments down below. Again, thank you so much if you've been joining us on the No Respect podcast for this video. Liking, subscribing would be great. But let's move on to our boy, Mike Hoffman. Okay. Yo, shit, Mike Hoffman, says Justin. Why is that?
I mean, nothing against Mike Hoffman. He's a great offensive player. I just mean he doesn't fit into, I think, the Habs' plans in the future. Like, he's the type of player that will get a return at the trade deadline. Every team would want him on their team to score goals in the playoffs and even in the regular season for next year. He's on a 3-year contract. So I think this is one of our most tradable players right now. And I think he's going to get traded probably at the deadline.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to Jeff Petry. Okay, this one is interesting because right before Marty St. Louis, we were all saying Pacquiao shit. Now he's been playing great. Definitely a tradable asset for sure. And the thing about him is that you can put him into like almost every single category apart from maybe untouchable.
Yeah.
Is that he could be useful. He could not have the right ROI given the fact that he's gone through the drought that he has. He's got a long contract. He's still a tradable asset because given the context in the Twitter sphere, if I could say it that way, is that there has been interest in teams. And there could be a side here where you're just like, he doesn't fit in the plans. The timeline doesn't make sense to have him. So Pacquiao shit. Where do you stand? You put him in tradable asset from what I see.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what the plan is. Like, if we're doing a quick kind of like 2-3 year retool, then I could see him somehow staying and being like the leader defenseman, veteran presence. But yeah, I don't think he's going to stick around. Like, I think he's probably going to be traded potentially at the deadline because I think that's when he's going to get the most. I think that's probably when he's going to get the most value. Yeah. So yeah, I think he's a tradable asset. I don't want to say Pacquiao shit because I still love Jeff Petry and I would want him to stay on the Habs if the Habs were a more competitive team. But at this point, I think he's just a tradable player.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's move on to our boy Brendan Gallagher.
Man. Oh no.
This one is tough. I tend to put it in. Untouchable. Okay, so you're putting him in tradable asset, where I would put him at the ROI. Might not be worth it, and also could be useful in retool rebuild.
Yeah.
Because right now, to get rid of Brendan Gallagher with the season that he's having, I don't think he's a tradable asset. I think that he's going to be, you're going to have to acquire either another shitty contract. You might have to give up a pick for the amount of cap space that he's taking. I would definitely want to put him more in the could be useful in the retool and rebuild for now, because his leadership and what he stands for and everything that he's done, I think makes more sense with this group. And I think he still has the opportunity to bounce back. I still love Brendan Gallagher on the Habs. I know that he's going through a rough patch, but that's my final call, is that, worst case scenario, he stays with the group and it's a part of this group that's retooling, re-rostering its foundation here. I don't know where you stand on this one.
You know what? I was firmly in ROI and not worth it, but your words as a homer and as a Montreal Canadiens fan brought me to that could be useful in a retool, because I mean, my dream is to see Brendan Gallagher bounce back, become the captain of Montreal Canadiens, score 30 goals again, be dominant. That's what I want to see. So I'll put him there. That's where we're putting him. And we're not moving him.
All right, I like it. Okay, let's head on over to Short King Cole Caulfield. You put him in an untouchable. I am not touching the shit out of Cole Caulfield unless it's like consensual stuff, right? I'm going to be loving Cole Caulfield on this Habs team for the rest of time. And this is it. This is it, dude. Like Cole Caulfield, the way that he's emerged under Martin St. Louis, there's no reason why you move this guy unless you're getting, I don't know, something that's absolutely ridiculous, and you're not in this market. I just don't think. Justin.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it. I mean, he's a goal scorer, pure goal scorer. We saw what he did in the playoffs. Obviously, he had the rough start of the season, but I've said it, like, you see what he can do in the most tense moments in the playoffs. Like, if you can do that, he can get to that level again. He's still really, really young. He's the type of player you can build around. So I think, untouchable. Yeah,
got it. All right, let's move on to our boy Brett Kulak, tradable asset, buddy. I don't know where you're going, but it's tradable asset. Easy. How old is Brett Kulak? I'd even put Pacquiao shit. He's like 25, 26.
I want to say could be useful because I don't think what do you think he's going to get back? Like, what do you think he would get?
He's a UFA next year. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
that you would
I guess
keep
you're
him.
right. You're right.
You gotta pack
tradable
your
assets,
shit,
fine.
Brett.
But I just want to
pack
congratulate
your
him
shit,
for
dude.
being. I think he's been a consistent player this year, at least. Okay,
You gotta pack your
at least
shit.
since Martin St. Louis been here.
Yeah, put him in pack your shit. It doesn't make sense or else. Like, he's a UFA. You have to get something for him.
I think you're right.
And he's been okay. Thank you. All right, let's move on. Ben Sherrod, dude. If there's anybody who's packing his shit, Kent Hughes has outrightly said that Ben Sherrod will be traded. So Ben Sherrod is literally just playing, having his last couple of games as a Montreal Canadian. He's loved being a Hab. I don't want it to be pack your shit, but it just makes sense with the timeline and the direction.
I don't like it either, but I totally agree. I think he's what's going to fetch us the most at the deadline, probably. So, I mean, we kind of have to. He's not in the cards for the Habs right now, which is sad.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sad. It's very sad.
And if it's a first-round pick, you can't say anything, all right? So, David Savard, who hasn't been a part of the lineup, where do you put him? I'm curious to get your initial thoughts.
I'm between pack your shit and ROI not worth it because... I mean, he's injured right now. Like, if he doesn't come back now and like plays a bit before the trade deadline, he could get traded, but it's gonna bring back barely anything. Or we keep him and then, I don't know.
He is signed until 2025, 2026.
I think he's the perfect player we could trade in the offseason, potentially.
Yeah, I don't know if his cup run with Tampa Bay helps, but I think we got to put him in the ROI thing because he's been injured. It hasn't been a great season for the Habs. He's got a pretty long contract, even though it's a cheap one, but he hasn't shown enough. I just don't even think he'd be garnering that much interest. But the part where I kind of hesitate is that if you can get something for him without paying anything, I would probably do it and just get the cap space and allow yourself to maybe sign another UFA during the off season. So I don't know. Let's keep him in ROI.
Someone will definitely take him. Like he's like you said, he has the pedigree and he has the experience as a defenseman. He had flashes this year. Like, obviously, it wasn't good for anyone, but I think he can still be a serviceable guy, play up to 20 minutes per game. So, like, he's going to find a place. No doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, in that case, I would put him in that category. But, all right, let's move on to Joel Edmondson. Okay. Joel Edmondson obviously hasn't been playing with the Montreal Canadiens since the beginning of the season. He is coming to a return closely. Yeah, I don't know if I put him in untouchable. I definitely think that Joel Edmondson could be either a tradable asset or useful in the retool or rebuild. Yeah. He's a guy who's won a cup. We're going to need some type of defenseman. If I'm going to choose between David Savard, Joel Edmondson, it's definitely Joel Edmondson. So, you know what? I would put him in that category and keep him. And again, he's signed to I'm trying to find the exact timing here of his deal when it ends, and I can't seem to find on Cap Friendly. But if it's anywhere longer than what
I think it was 3 years or 3 or 4 years when we signed him.
Yeah, well, I think that's it. Hang on a second, let me try to get it. But that being said, I think that this is the type of player that just it makes sense to keep for this group and try to be competitive. So I'm looking right now, he's signed till 2024, 2025. Same deal as David Savard, which is 3.5 mil. Yeah. And I just think that he's a much more steady defenseman. He's 28 years old. He's a good leader, has won a cup. Keep him. Keep him for the retool and rebuild, and you can revisit if you want to trade him later.
I mean, obviously, now he doesn't have a lot of return value because he just hasn't played. I mean, there's obviously like the pedigree in the past and what he did in the playoffs last year. But yeah, I mean, unless we trade him now at the deadline and for some reason someone gives us a first or something because they saw what he did last year in the playoffs, I think we should keep him. I totally agree.
All right, let's move on to Devo. Christian Devorak, obviously not the hottest season, some injury problems, the Habs sucking. Where do you put this guy?
Honestly, the ROI, obviously we traded a first rounder for this guy. Like, we're not getting that back right now. So to me, the ROI is not worth it at this time. But I also believe that Devorak has not reached his potential on the Habs, and I think he could be useful in a retool because he's still young. He's a center, obviously. He's a two-way center, so you always need those. Like he's a young player, and I think he can thrive in the right system, like he did in Arizona. He was dominant on the power play, so I think he could be useful for us.
Honestly, I agree, but I also think that I'm okay with trading him. And I think that a centerman at his age, 26, he hasn't had the hottest season. I think that there's a couple of categories that he could fit in, and I would put more on tradable asset because I don't know, for whatever reason, I just don't think he necessarily fits with the plan and style of this group forward. He's not necessarily the fastest. He's defensively responsible, much more of a Bergevin style player. I don't know if he fits in the direction that Kent and Jeff Gorton want to go into. So,
the only reason I wouldn't put him there is because I just think we'll end up losing. Like we won't get.
Well, if that's the
return.
case, then let's leave it.
Like I would put it either. I would even put it here, maybe if that's okay with you. Because these, to me, these ones are like still tradable assets, but they're not. It's not worth it.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, fair enough. Let's move on to Cale Clegg.
We have Cale Clegg again, so there's twins and ROI not worth it.
All right, there we go. Let's go with Paul Byron, DJ Pauly B. Man, he loves this city. He loves this team. He's a great role model. The Homer in me says keep him for the retool rebuild, but there's a side of me here that says that he might be useful for a team in a playoff push. Where do you stand?
It's tough because I don't know what his return would be, but I do agree that he would be a good player to go on a playoff team. Like we saw what he did in Toronto, like in the Toronto series in the playoffs last year. He's always a consistent player in terms of just playing hockey, both 200 I was going to say 200 yards, 200 feet on the ice. So yeah, I mean I'd say tradable asset, but it hurts to say that because I just love Pauly B so much.
Yeah, I agree. Let's keep him there. And again, if you guys have any idea of what to do with DJ Pauly B, you let us know. All right, moving on to Joel Armia, signed until 2025 at a $3.4 million contract. This is a guy that shows flashes. Tradable asset. Dominant in the playoffs. I mean, without the right value, I think Joel Armia is worth keeping. I just don't know if that's going to be the case. So, let's keep him a tradable asset. Is there a specific reason why you put him there?
I mean, I don't think he's worth it enough to keep on a rebuilding team. Like it's tough because he doesn't really have a lot of return either. Like he had a pretty bad season this season. But I could still see someone like taking a chance on him because he's good defensively. He's shown that he's good in the playoffs. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. He's an enigma, this player, Joel Armia.
I've changed my mind. You got to put him in ROI, not worth it at this time. Keep him now. Get the value that you can get for him next year. It's not like the Habs are going to be competing next year.
You mean like next trade deadline?
Yeah, next trade deadline. Give him another season, and then after that, revisit it. Unless you get it blown out of the water, but for right now, I think the ROI is not worth it at this time.
But he could be an addition, potentially, in a trade.
But he's got a 4-year contract, dude.
True, that's true.
It's tough.
Freaking Bergevin.
All right, moving on to Jake Allen. You want to? Okay, this is a hot take. Pack your shit, dude.
I'm not gonna lie. I totally agree.
Okay, why are we saying this?
It's pretty simple. Unless
just
Carey Price, like if it's one or the other, we're picking one or the other, and I think it makes more sense to trade Jake Allen because Carey Price is untradeable right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Do you agree?
Josh Anderson. Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay.
Josh Anderson. Where are you putting him?
I mean, I don't want to say untouched. I want to say untouchable because he's just so hot, but I think he's obviously a player that could be useful in the rebuild. He's a player that people have said could be the next captain of the Canadians. He's young. He's under contract for a long time. He's just a power horse. He's someone I want to see in a Habs jersey for a long time.
Hot take of the night, and I'm probably going to get roasted. I put him on untouchable. You don't build these
I thought you were going to say
players.
Pacquiao shit.
No,
I was
no,
very surprised.
No, because there's some people that want him to go. I just think that at the age that Josh Anderson is at, the chemistry that he's building with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, we're going to get into Nick Suzuki. I think that this player is the type of player that we've been looking for so long on the Montreal Canadiens. And to get rid of him at this stage when he shows that he wants to be a part of this organization, that he's putting up points, and the type of player that is just so rare to get, why are you moving him unless they give you a package that you just cannot refuse? That's what I mean by untouchable. It's like a player that unless you're throwing me something that I just can't say no, I'm keeping this player. And Josh Anderson, I think, fits that bill, to be honest.
I want to ask, what's that price? Like, what would be enough to give him away?
Off the top of my head, it would have to be like 2 first-round picks from like a bottom feeder team. And
okay,
I would say
it's not going to happen. There's no way.
No, exactly. Like it just doesn't make sense unless you're giving me like Tom Wilson and like a first round pick with like maybe Evgeny Kuznetsov. Like obviously that doesn't make any sense. I just don't.
Yeah.
I just can't figure out a package that makes sense from need to need for this group. So for that reason, Josh Anderson is untouchable to me.
The only thing I'd say is that if Josh Anderson were to be traded, he would probably be at the top of the like trade bait board. Like it would be it would be a huge get for the playoffs. Like it's
100%.
So I mean, yeah, I wouldn't go as far as say untouchable, just because there is that like if you get that like really nice trade that you can get.
But that's the truth for any untouchable player. Like if you get something for any player,
I
like,
would never trade. I wouldn't trade Cole Caulfield for anything like reasonable.
I would.
Obviously, if you say Connor McDavid, I'll do it.
Well, that's it.
But that's stupid.
That's it.
I'm saying a realistic trade. Obviously, like we're not talking shell trades where it's like 3
on easy mode
Igor Larionovs for Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, I'll keep Josh Anderson there. I like him there. I want to see him in a Habs jersey for a long time. And the next guy, this is a hot topic. Obviously,
yeah.
Arturi.
Are we on the same? Are we on the same page on this one? I don't know.
I don't know.
Where are you putting him?
I think you should go first. I think you should go first.
Okay, I'm just gonna take a quick look at Arturi Lekkonen's situation on Cap Friendly. So give me a second here. I can't find it.
I think Arturi Lekkonen's probably the most like he's the player with the most return on his potential, I think. Like he's playing up to his value right now.
Yeah.
Like he's playing probably the best, like maybe not the best of his career, but I'm saying he's playing up to what he is as a hockey player. So he's going to get whatever value he's worth. So that's the thing I'll say. And if he can get, I'll say this, if he gets us a first round pick, I say Pacquiao shit.
He's definitely getting you a first round pick. He's definitely getting you a first round pick. It's Pacquiao shit. And I love Arturi. Like this is the guy who scored the game winner to send us to the Stanley Cup Finals on Saint-Jean-Baptiste.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing more legendary. There's nothing more legendary. This guy's been drafted by this organization through and through, defensive specialist, and he's going at the deadline. You got to get ready for that emotionally if you're a Habs fan. I'm sorry.
I'm not ready, but I do agree though. He's probably the most tradable player right now on the Habs. Like him and Ben Sherratt, like they're playing up to their potential, and they're just they're at points in their careers where they're ready to be traded. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, Shea Weber.
Okay, well, let's say untouchable because
Yeah, let's just say it that way. And if it's not Pacquiao shit, it's gonna be Nashville Payo shit on LTIR.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Cédric Paquette, we agree here, is ROI just not worth it at this time, and he's not gonna fetch anything.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I saw where you would put him. Okay, between Carl Aldsner and Nick Suzuki, we've. Okay, let's get Carl Aldsner out of the way and put him in Pacquiao shit because his shit has already been packed.
Him in ROI.
Okay, fair enough. Nick Suzuki, final one on the list. I think it's pretty obvious here is that unless you're getting a deal that makes tremendous amount of sense, Nick Suzuki stays a Hab. He's on a contract for a long period of time. He's developing chemistry with Cole Caulfield that you just moved to his right. And then you got Josh Anderson as part of that squad. So honestly, that takes a tour of the list. I don't know if you had anything to add on Nick Suzuki before we wrap this baby up.
I mean, not really. I think he's, along with those other untouchables, he's someone that you want to build your team around. He's someone that I could see as being the next captain of the Habs, maybe the next captain or something. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to see Nick Suzuki in any other jersey in the NHL. So I mean, and I think Eric Engels had a tweet today where he said like, Nick Suzuki might not be like the McDavid or Matthews number 1C, but he could be like the O'Reilly or Bergeron type of 1C. So I think he's already shown flashes of that, and I think he's just gonna keep developing. So
yeah. Yep. I agree. And there you have it, folks. This is our trade tier list. We tried to go through it as thoroughly as possible, maybe longer than we expected, to be honest, for this list. But there you have it. You can screenshot it, use it against us for the rest of time. This is the beauty of the internet. Justin, go ahead.
Well, we can put this tier list in the description so that you guys can make your own thing and then post it yourselves if you want.
Oh, I like that. And where you can post that is in our Discord, which is in the category down below here in the description box. Again, thank you so much if you joined us for the No Respect podcast for this video the whole way through. We're missing Alex, Justin, Mackie, No Respect. Again, liking, subscribing, all of those things are greatly appreciated for this channel. It helps us out. So thank you so much. And with that being said, we shall see you relatively soon. Go Habs, go. And until the next one.